All right, all right. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. If you're new, I do want to let you know that we are also streaming on X and Rumble, as well as YouTube. Tonight is a big night. Tonight we will see whether or not Thomas Massie will be able to beat APAC and the Epstein class. The polls closed at 6 o'clock, so they're already closed. Some of those results are trickling in, so we're going to play it by ear. Eric is back. Eric's going to let me know when it is getting close to being called, and then we'll dive into that story. So it's a big night tonight, and we'll see what's going to happen. But welcome back, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Tonight's theme is now is the time. And a lot of times I think we hear people say now is not the time. And we need to change that. We need to start saying now is the time. Because if we continue to say now is not the time, there will never be a time, right? Whatever you're fighting for, whether it's healthcare, whether it's fighting back against big money and electoral politics, whether it's justice for the Palestinian people, we have to use the phrase, now is the time. And that's how we're going to go into this tonight. We will do call in tonight after the show. So looking forward to that. I want to hear your takes on some of these stories. And please do me a solid and answer that poll question, because I'm curious. I just want to know. I don't know anyone. No one has said this to me. So I'm curious if people have said that to you, if you've heard people on the left say that they would vote for Tucker Carlson. I want to know about that, because that has something to do with one of the stories tonight. So let's go ahead and give some shout outs to people in the chat. Ladies and gents, what is going on, fam? Greetings, Rich says, as long as Washington continues to wage wars in the Middle East and Muslim majority countries, conspiracy theories would keep Islamophobia alive and well in the United States. That's a really good point there, Rich. Okay. Thank you. What's up, Damien? How long have you been listening to Tucker for? I will never trust that snake. I've heard everything that Tucker Carlson has said. Everything. When he was on Fox News, when he was on CNN, I've heard all of those things. But this isn't really about me. This is about the story with Briahna Joy Gray. And I really do want to answer that poll question if you guys have heard people say that. Shout out to I Know Myself. Before I go and blame Luigi, can someone tell me where was Timothy Charlemagne the time of the incident? You know what? You guys got jokes tonight. What's going on? Blockbuster says hi. Greetings, Sneeka says, hi, chat, long time no see. Shout out to Measured Man, and thank you for the super chat coming through to show support in case I don't watch the live as I'm in my route home. Hey, tribe, keep up the fight. Thank you. Shout out to Cloudness says, happy Taco Tuesday, Sabby Sabs, and everyone in the chat, B1 fam. Greetings, CBC Voter says, happy Tuesday, Sabby and Eric. Greetings, Randy says, good early evening, Sabby and my revolutionary comrades. Shout out to Go Artist says, poll doesn't have my answer. I don't know any, but I know quite a percentage will be duped. Quite a percentage will be duped into it. Interesting. Greetings, New York Varsity says, this primary election with Massie might be the most important one in a very, very long time. I think so too. Greetings, Brian says, truth is under attack. Anyone who speaks it, spreads it, exposes it is under the gun. Power to breathe, power to you, power to the truth, and to those who attack, obscure, and stifle truth, suck it. And greetings, Machu, Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Shout out to Silver Surfer says, peace, love, Sabby. Okay, ladies and gents, let's go ahead and dive right in. First and foremost, let's give a shout out to Sabby patrons. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate you around here, fam. If you are interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. We have the ultimate. We have Sabinators. Don't forget about the Sabsters. I think they're pretty cool people too. And we also have Sabbies, which is the most popular group here, apparently. And last but not least, we have the members. All of their names are listed here, and you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen on the ticker throughout the show. So thank you, everyone. and welcome. Welcome back. Okay, ladies and gents, let's see what we are discussing tonight. Like I said, it's a lot of things going on. We have possibly one of the biggest nights in congressional races tonight. So we'll see what happens. What are we talking about tonight, ladies and gents? Tonight we are discussing Briahna Joy Gray is under attack. And what does this all have to do with Tucker Carlson? We're going to get into that story, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like people really either misunderstood what Bree was trying to say, or they are intentionally misrepresenting what she said. And I'll let you decide, but we're going to get into all of that. Answer that poll question as well if you can, because I'm curious to see if you have noticed this as well. We're also going to discuss Donald Trump has declared that there is going to be a pause with the Iran war. He was supposed to strike on Tuesday, but new information is coming out already that Donald Trump hasn't been honest about this either. So we're going to get into all of that and what to expect with the Iran war. We're also going to discuss Thomas Massie's election is tonight. The polls closed at 6 p.m. Will Thomas Massie be able to beat AIPAC, Donald Trump, the Epstein class? We will find out. We will find out. But I'll tell you this much. I have a sneaky suspicion that if Thomas Massie does not win tonight, I think you're going to see quite a bit of his supporters leave the Republican Party. I think that's possible. We're also going to discuss, we have big news in the Luigi Mangione case. This could change everything. We told you guys that this could be a possibility. They just announced that this is a big deal. We're going to get into all of that. Is Luigi Mangione going to walk? Is he going to walk? And last but not least, there was a mosque shooting in San Diego. The gentleman there that you see in the fourth yellow square there is one of the victims of that shooting. So we're going to get into all of that, ladies and gents, tonight. Tonight's theme again is Now is the Time. And if you have not done so, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. Let's keep it moving and grooving, folks. And let's get started with our first story. There was a shooting at a mosque in San Diego, California. 3 people have been killed. And one of the people that was killed was actually working security. From what I understand, a very, tragic incident here. We're going to get into who the alleged suspects are and what actually prompted them to do this. And everybody needs to pay attention, because we're so quick to hear corporate media say that it's the radical left. And you're going to see an example that shows that is not the case. First and foremost, one thing that I found very interesting before they even mentioned who the suspects were, I want you to hear the way that Fox News discussed this incident, because they were already trying to find a way to blame Iran. Listen to this.
You make a great point. The potential motivations could be 1,000-fold. I did, though, latch on, James, I'm going to direct this question to you, to something I heard in the last hour with Martha McCallum by Paul Morrow. He gave us this fact. The details are interesting, so we'll just acknowledge the facts, and you can tell me where you think the significance lies. This was a Sunni Muslim mosque in San Diego, the largest in the county. Now, when there is terrorism globally, it is often, of course, Judaism, Islam, anti-Semitism, something like that. But when it is not, it is intersectarian Muslim, Sunni, Shia. Jonathan brought up Iran. Iran is a Shia nation. Here we have a Sunni mosque. I don't know, James, off the top of my head, and this is where I turn to you now, do we have a history of that sectarian terrorism or violence here in the United States? We certainly would all across the globe, certainly in the Middle East. Do we have?
So does everybody notice what Fox News is doing here? Before the suspects were even announced, Will Cain, who also used to work on, I don't know if he's still a part of ESPN, but he used to do sports commentary as well. Will Cain is telling everybody that it's possible, this is really what he's saying, it's possible that Iran could have had something to do with this. That's why he's trying to give that distinction of Sunni and Shiite Muslims. Do you know how dangerous it is to put that message out there before these suspects were even announced? At this point, they didn't know who the suspects were. But he was already trying to find a way to connect this to Iran. Does everybody see what's going on? And they went on to talk about it.
That kind of sectarian conflict here in the United States?
We don't, Will, but however, there's a new paradigm right now with terrorism, and you correctly point this out, and Paul Morrow talked about it in the last hour. Iran is 95% Shia. This was a Sunni mosque, and I think it's the largest mosque, the largest Islamic center in San Diego. Very reminiscent of what happened to the synagogue, a couple of months ago in West Bloomfield, Michigan. So these type of attacks are becoming a lot more common, and we do need to pump the brakes and pause here and say, what also could be the motivation? Right. Motivations could be, it could be domestic violence. It could be a love triangle. It could be a whole host of things. But the fact that it was targeted at a mosque where you have pre-K to third graders, it's chilling.
He made the comparison of a shooting at a synagogue. This is a mosque, instead of making the comparison to the mosque shooting in New Zealand or any other mosque shooting. This is dangerous. That is dangerous rhetoric. You see what they're doing? And then you think about the fact that this mosque was attacked in the first place. Well, I'm just thinking about how corporate media uses rhetoric to demonize Muslim people in this country. And here we go. Again, at this time, no one has been named as a suspect, but they're already letting you know, oh, I think this might be from Iran. And it wasn't. We'll go ahead and get into this part of it here. They are saying that this is being investigated as a hate crime. Now, the mother of one of the alleged shooters apparently was trying to warn police ahead of time because apparently, like her child, she said the child was feeling down on themselves. I gotta be careful with my language here, but down on themselves. And that she noticed that her car was gone and weapons were gone. So listen to this.
Diego, police describing this as a hate crime. 3 adults killed. A teenage gunman, according to police, opened fire. Morgan Chesky's in San Diego with the latest.
Overnight, the FBI searching a home tied to one of the suspects in the brazen attack on the Islamic Center of San Diego.
This is every community's worst nightmare.
Police confirming 2 teenage gunmen opened fire late Monday morning, killing 3 adults, including the center's security guard.
Initial reports from PDR. Multiple victims.
Authorities converging on the scene minutes after the active shooter call.
We are considering this a hate crime until it's not.
Heartbreaking images of children being escorted out of the mosque.
All the kids, all the staff and the teachers are safe.
After more reports of gunfire blocks away, police finding a vehicle with the bodies of both alleged shooters inside. Identified as 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez and 17-year-old Kane Clark.
We received a call of a runaway juvenile.
San Diego police telling NBC News 17-year-old Clark's mother called police hours earlier, sharing she believed her son was suicidal, left wearing camouflage, and was most likely with a friend.
This is a child. This is a child. And by the way, it is being reported that these 2 alleged suspects were following Laura Loomer. Nutty Laura Loomer. That's what's being reported, that they were listening to her and others. We'll get into that.
Adding both her car and several firearms were missing, and that he left behind a note. Photos of Clark emerging online, including one reposted by his father, who said it showed Clark in costume as a child. Now, as devastated community members lean on one another for support.
Hate has no home in San Diego. Islamophobia has no home in San Diego.
The Islamic Center identifying the security guard who was fatally shot as Amin Abdullah.
We do believe the security guard was able to help at least minimize the situation. I think it's fair to say his actions were heroic, and undoubtedly he saved lives today.
The community in mourning.
So that security guard, he was actually trying to save the children.
Sam Hamida's son is a second grader at the Islamic Center.
I feel for the children having, to go through this emotionally, thinking like, why did this happen?
Yeah. I would say, that's the saddest part about this all, which is those were kids. Just, kids just going about their everyday life. We're going to get into a little bit more of this here. So I want to show you again the alleged suspects here. Again, kids. We'll read a part of it here where it says that the pair shot and killed 3 adult men in front of the Islamic Center of San Diego before dying from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. The FBI is investigating the attack as a hate crime. Anti-Islamic writings and hate rhetoric were found in the vehicle. So this is the part I have a question about. The suspects, or one of the suspects' mothers, reported missing the firearms, that reported that those were gone. And the question that I have is that the mother said that her son was feeling, like they wanted to unalive themselves. And apparently there were firearms in the house. And now I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be some possible charge towards the parents, right? Because one would think immediately you would want to get the firearms like out of the house, out of the way. I don't know, but I'm wondering about that. These were kids. You'll also see here, they're talking about it here, about the weapons, that there was hate speech on the weapons.
Back to the breaking news we started this show with, the deadly shooting at that mosque in San Diego, the Islamic Center of San Diego. Multiple law enforcement officials just briefed tell CNN that hate speech, bigotry was scrawled on one of the suspects' weapons. Let's get right to CNN's Josh Campbell. Josh, tell us more.
Well, San Diego police said a short time ago they were treating this as a hate crime until it's not, is how the police chief described it. But we're getting these critical new details about the alleged suspects in this incident. Multiple law enforcement sources tell CNN that one of the suspects in the shooting took a firearm from their parents' home, left a suicide note that contained writings about racial pride.
Back to the breaking news we started.
So what I wanted to show you guys here is they're saying that there were notes that were left and all this type of stuff about racial pride. I know a number of people are still asking about the mother and why didn't the parent do something. I'm trying to figure out, to Fire's point here. Yeah, and there were firearms unlocked. That's what I'm trying to figure out. If you knew that your son was feeling that type of way, that they would want to actually hurt themselves, were the firearms unlocked? Why were firearms still in the house? I don't understand what happened there. I'm kind of confused, and maybe we'll find out more about that. Right now, that's all that I know. However, like I said, it is being reported that they were followers of Lord Loomer, and you need to see this image here. San Diego Mosque shooters reportedly live streamed their attack and obviously, unalived themselves. In a still from the video, a plate carrier reported to be worn by one of the shooters appears to show a Nazi Sonnenrad, the black sun patch, right there. Right there. So where is everyone where's Donald Trump and everybody else who kept saying it's the radical left? And why aren't they screaming out about this? Why aren't they saying anything? They're not saying anything because it was a mosque, not a synagogue. What are they going to say? Remember the way they came after the pro-Palestinian protesters, and they said all these nasty things about the pro-Palestinian protesters because of the words that were used. And you actually had 2 kids here who allegedly went in and shot up at this mosque with the Nazi symbol and silence. If that would have been a synagogue that they attacked, it would have been a completely different story. By the way, where's the ADL? Where's the statement from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, who's technically supposed to be looking out for all marginalized people? Why aren't they screaming to the rooftops about this? Where's Jonathan Greenblatt? Why is he so quiet? They have been, and for a long time, they have been underreporting Islamophobia in this country. I do want to show you one of the gentlemen that was killed. He was protecting the mosque. He never made it home. Here is a video of him here. That's him right there.
Oh, thank you, bro. You were in the best suit, man.
And just like that, he's no more. He's gone. This man is now gone. And he was protecting the kids. And so they just came in and just started shooting. And by the way, they were trying to hurt the children. They wanted to kill the kids. And then I want people to think about something here for a second, because the number of times we've had politicians say that all the kids are Hamas, that they're all terrorists. Words have meaning. There are people sitting back listening to what they say, Randy Fine and others, and they take that to heart. And they hear those words and they start to think, oh, maybe they all are terrorists. Oh, when you hear those politicians say, get rid of all the Muslims and they all need to get out of here, there's somebody at home listening to that and taking their word at it and saying, I need to do something about that. People can't even go to work. You can't even go to work. Here is Linda Sarsour. She was responding to the shooting that happened at the mosque. I want you to hear what she said. She was on Democracy Now!
The guard has just been named who was killed by the gunmen themselves apparently dead of self-inflicted wounds. Can you talk about what you heard yesterday and your reaction as it was unfolding? You're a friend of the imam.
I immediately saw a tweet on X that said that there was a shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego, and I immediately texted Imam Taha Hussein, who's an old friend of mine, and I said, are you okay? And he immediately called me back and said that we are in a lockdown right now. There's been an active shooting. At that moment, he had not known about all the fatalities, but they did know about Brother Amin Abdullah, who was the armed security guard of the mosque and a father of 8 and a wonderful, incredible human being that I also had the honor and privilege of meeting myself. There are also 2 other adult males that were also killed in the shooting. One of them is Brother Mansour, also known as Abul Izz. He is an elder, a caretaker of the mosque, also was running the Islamic bookstore at the mosque, and just a beloved kind of uncle in the community. Another one is Brother Nadid. Brother Nadid is a neighbor of the mosque, a congregant, someone who is heavily involved in the mosque itself. It's just a very devastating experience. There was also about 200 kids in a pre-K to 3rd grade Islamic school that is a part of the Islamic Center of San Diego, who are also on lockdown, hiding under, hiding under desks and closets. And if it wasn't for Brother Amin Abdullah and these brothers that came out to put their bodies on the line, we could have had many more fatalities, and many of them could have been small children in this country. So even though the children are safe, thank God, they are forever going to live with this trauma of knowing that their mosque was attacked because they were Muslims.
He risked his life for those children. Had it not been for him, like she said, those kids could have been killed. Like I said, like when you constantly hear people say the babies are Hamas, the babies are terrorists, they all need to go. Now, for most of us, we don't fall into that and we don't believe that and we think critically, but there's always someone somewhere who is hearing that message and they think that they need to do something about it. And unfortunately, they'll take the path of violence to do so. This is the country that we're living in. Now, the mayor of San Diego was told off to his face, and I'm glad that this was actually captured on camera because the citizens here basically are telling Mayor, his name is Mayor Todd Gloria, that they have been complaining to him that they were under attack and he did nothing about it. Listen to this.
Thank you. Fucking direct result of your leadership. Your leadership. Our Muslim brothers and sisters have been talking to you for how long? You have to fucking listen to them, Todd. Just like you did with ICE. You were golden ICE. You were golden Zionist propaganda. And you'll keep doing it as long as it lines your fucking pockets, won't it? Show something. Worse approval rating than a fascist dictator with shit in his pants.
What can you say after that? The Muslim community has gone to him multiple times in telling him that they were being harassed, that they were under attack. Notice she called him by his first name and she didn't call him Mayor Gloria. She said Todd. That's when you know you fucked up, Todd. He did nothing about it. Now, why is this important? Don't forget that San Diego, just a couple of months ago, they tried to move swiftly to adopt the new definition of anti-Semitism. You see, when it comes to the Jewish community in San Diego, the mayor, the city council, and all of the peeps in local government, they were willing to move swiftly. But the Muslim community has complained for who knows how long that they were being attacked and that they were being harassed and that they were being threatened. Did you see the mayor of San Diego move swiftly to protect them? Did you see him move to try to adopt some new definition for Islamophobia? No. Does everybody see what the problem is here? Does everybody understand that there are certain groups that are prioritized and others that are not? Now, I don't know a lot about Mayor Gloria here, but I'm willing to bet he's probably in a Zionist pocket. I'm willing to bet he's probably taking money from the pro-Israel lobby. That's why he moved as quickly as he did to try to get that definition changed. So now he sits there and he hangs his head in shame, and he should. He should hang his head in shame. A lot of these people are bought. A lot of these politicians are bought and paid for. And the sad thing about all this is that someone had to end up losing their life. 3 people are dead. And if it hadn't been for that security officer who was protecting those children, they would have killed the kids. That's really who they were there to attack. We have our priorities backwards in this country. And when I see people like this clown, Van Jones, of all people, issue a statement. 3 people were murdered today at the Islamic Center of San Diego. A security guard gave his life to protect others. A hate crime at a house of worship is beyond heinous. The Muslim community must be protected. Religious sanctuaries must be respected. When hateful bigots target sacred spaces, people of all faiths must condemn that violence with one voice. So this is what I said to Van Jones. Van Jones contributed to this very hate he's pretending to care about. You know what's interesting to me? Van Jones now all of a sudden wants to say that the Muslim community needs to be protected after he sat there on Bill Maher's show and laughed about dead babies. Van Jones, who continued to defend Israel to the T, making videos, making appearances, who also takes money from pro-Israel interests, who participates in pro-Israel interests, and all that time a genocide was going on, Van Jones had nothing to say about the Palestinians. Van Jones said nothing while his friends and his comrades sat up there and said, they're all Hamas. They're all terrorists. Those are his friends. Those aren't just people that he sits next to on a news program. Those are his friends and donors, comrades. Van Jones said nothing. You hear me? Nothing. Not a damn thing. He contributed to it. And now we're supposed to believe that all of a sudden he feels bad and he cares. Get out of here. Now, I'm sorry if I raised my voice, but people approached him multiple times about the things that he was saying about Muslim people and about Arab Americans in this country, and he doubled down. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from Van Jones. I don't want to hear from Van. I don't want to hear from Bill Maher. I don't want to hear from Randy Fine. I don't want to hear from none of these people. None of them. Shut up. People like Van Jones were quick to tell you that now is not the time. When we called for a free Palestine, when we said stop the genocide, stop killing people, he's the now is not the time person. I'm here to tell you now is the time. Stop letting people tell you now is not the time. People who tell you now is not the time are comfortable. Their pockets are lined with pro-Israel interests, war interests, whatever you want to call it today. Their pockets are lined. That's why they say now is not the time. And that's how we get here. It went on to reveal that these two alleged shooters were following the shooting from New Zealand, the mosque that was shot in New Zealand. They were following that guy's teachings. And they were following Laura Loomer. Now, Van Jones sat up here and he told you that the pro-Palestinian people, we were the bad ones. We were the ones that needed to be subdued. Have you heard Van Jones call for Laura Loomer to be subdued? This woman is the only one that I know that can sit up there on social media and call for the death of people, and she never gets suspended. You hear me? This woman who has direct access to Donald Trump, direct journalism access to the Pentagon. She can say all of these things on social media and she is never suspended. But you can say free Palestine and all of a sudden you're locked out of your account. So do not come to me with your woes and your sorries and we got to protect the Muslim community when you sat there all that time and you contributed to it. I don't want to hear it. They did not protect these people. And these are just the situations that are reported on the news. There have been a number of them that happen that a lot of times they don't report because they don't want the attention. I live right here in the Boston area. I remember there were people right here in Harvard, by the way, this so-called liberal beacon, Harvard. There were people who worked at Harvard who were harassing students walking down the street because they had on a keffiyeh. If you support Israel, you support supremacy. That's the bottom line. It's sad and unfortunate that this happened. And I just, this is that one issue where both parties were in the wrong, both. And it's like I said, when you tell people that they're all terrorists, when you tell people that they're going to create Sharia law and they're going to take over the country, somebody is listening somewhere thinking they need to do something about that. So think about that. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gentlemen. Machu Picchu says Van Jones has blood on his hands too. Let's go to some of the other comments here. Thank you for the super sticker, Unemployed Scholar. Thank you, Resurrect. Mom's guns means she needs to go to jail. I'm wondering what's going to happen with that. I don't know. And thank you for this one as well. Repeat of the Tops grocery store. Pew, pew. Thank you for the super sticker, Champamanda. Thank you, Kevin. Public health opponents leverage the Fanta. We call it the Fanta on this show because YouTube tripping. Outbreak to spread conspiracies and misinformation. Many familiar faces from the pandemic are back. Important context on Substack 51926. I'll check out your Substack. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I do know that some of the other commentators that have been covering the Fanta, their videos were removed. That's why I haven't talked about it here on YouTube. So they're already, they're already going there. They're already going there. All right, ladies and gents, do me a solid if you haven't done so and smash that like button. And now we're going to keep it moving and grooving to the next story. This is an interesting one. Dun, dun, dun. We have some big news here with Iran. It seems that Donald Trump, Taco Tuesday, has decided to chicken out. He was supposed to strike Iran on Tuesday. Instead, he issued this statement here. I have been asked by Qatar and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, as well as the UAE, to hold off on our planned military attack of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow. So this is, I think he said this Monday night. In that serious negotiations are now taking place, and that in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made, which will be very acceptable to the U.S., as well as all countries in the Middle East and beyond. This deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran. So let me pause there for a second. We already know that Iran does not want nuclear weapons. So you see how he keeps framing this? Based on my respect for the above-mentioned leaders, I have instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Daniel Kane, and the U.S. military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald Trump. So Donald Trump chickened out, and he's saying it's because of these other Gulf leaders asking him not to attack Iran. But is that the true story? Because we have new information that was revealed today that says otherwise. Donald Trump right now is saying that the timeline could be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 days when he attacks Iran. Take a listen here.
They're being reasonable.
Mr. President, today's for Iran.
Well, I mean, I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week, a limited period of time. Because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would start with Israel. They would blow it up, and they would blow it up fast, but they'd blow it up. And I'll tell you what, they go after Saudi Arabia, they go after Kuwait, they go after UAE, they go after Qatar, they go after, I think they go after the entire Middle East, and it would be a whole different negotiation. It would not be, it would be nuclear holocaust. And there's no question in my mind that they'd use it. There's no question. And I deal with these people. They're extremely radicalized. These are not people like when I deal with you. You're a very nice guy. These are people that are seriously radicalized. They would use it. The only question, would it be the first minute, the first hour, or the first day?
So I'm going to tell you guys something here.
They would blow.
You see that construction behind Donald Trump? It looks like that might be that ballroom that they're trying to build. So let me tell you what I think is going to happen. 2028 is going to be wild. I know I'm jumping ahead, but I don't think Donald Trump is planning to go anywhere. I think Donald Trump is going to shelter himself in that damn bunker, that ballroom. And I just don't think he is going to, if he loses in come 2028, if the Republicans like lose or whatever, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to leave willingly. I really don't. I also think he may try to do something so that he can get a third term. And I'll get into that more with the Thomas Massie election, because there's something that has been brought to my attention. Donald Trump is still planning on attacking Iran. Friday, Saturday, I don't know, maybe next week, because Iran has already agreed that they don't want a nuclear weapon. It actually goes against the Quran. They're not trying to accomplish that at all. That's not what this is about. So I don't see Iran moving away from what they already said before. Of course, they issued, their proposal to the US, and of course, Donald Trump rejected it. Now, back to this point of what he said about the Gulf states telling him not to attack Iran. Is that really what happened? Because, see, the Pentagon apparently had something to say. This is from the Hormuz letter. The Pentagon reveals that Trump paused the strikes on Iran not for negotiations, as he claimed, but because Iran is becoming rapidly more effective at tracking U.S. air operations, improving its air defenses, and becoming too strong at detecting signs of a surprise attack. This is per the New York Times. The Pentagon, their story is different from the story that Donald Trump is telling people. Iran has used the ceasefire to successfully dig out all bomb ballistic missile sites, making them fully operational again. Iran also moved a large number of new mobile launchers across the entire country and adjusted tactics for any resumption of strikes, per a U.S. military official. Iranian commanders studied U.S. fire jet and bomb flight patterns with close Russian and Chinese help. The recent downing of the F-15E and ground fire striking F-35 revealed American flight tactics had become too predictable. In other words, Donald Trump pulled a Taco Tuesday because he doesn't feel that they can beat Iran, and they can't, which is what we've been saying for the longest time. I also want to add, because this was underreported, and I did talk to Scott Ritter about this earlier, if you guys saw the video from earlier today, that there was also a U.S. drone that was shot down by Ansar Allah, and it was underreported. A lot of people did not report this, especially corporate media. They don't want you to know what's actually happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Ansar Allah, also known as the Houthis, they're strong, they're powerful, and they're not stupid. And every time a drone is shot down, they're studying that drone. They are 2 and 3 steps ahead of the United States every time. Every time. Now, Donald Trump said that he had issued a pause. However, news came out of the Strait of Hormuz that they were already seeing more drones. So check this out. Iran has spotted U.S.-Israeli drones over Kesheev Island in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is per Tasnim. I also have a video to back this up as well. This comes minutes after Trump claimed he held off the U.S. military attack on Iran. So Donald Trump just told you that he called off this, that you have this pause between the U.S. and Iran. And as he is saying that, Iran was already noticing U.S.-Israeli drones over Kesheev Island. So he was still trying to do a sneak attack, but not too sneaky. Not good at being sneaky. Right? So let's get to the video of this. Because again, I said a lot of this stuff is being underreported because they don't want you to see just how bad the U.S. is at fighting Iran. Check this out.
In Iran's Kesheev island, these explosions were heard on the island are being attributed to neutralizing of unexploded munition. This, according to Tasneem News Agency reports, which are also citing an Iranian official. But in the latest, what we can confirm is that certain explosions have been reported over Kesheev island in Iran. Now, what is exactly behind these explosions, we do not know, but the official Tasneem News Agency is even citing an Iranian official with regards to these explosions. During the night, it was reported that the air defense system on the island was also activated against enemy drones, is what reports are also indicating. We'll try and find out more details at the moment, but yes.
Yeah. So the explosions that were on Kesheev Island, that was Iran shooting down those drones. That was them trying to stop those drones from making their way further. Right after Donald Trump said, oh yeah, we're pausing the strikes. So this tells you again, you can't believe anything that Donald Trump is saying. Cannot be trusted. Cannot be. Let's continue on.
Explosions have been reported from Kesheev Island. Let's quickly take this forward with Siddhant, who's been tracking the latest for us. Siddhant, what else can you tell us?
Well, that's right. So, Akanksha, the explosion heard in Kesheev Island are due to the neutralizing unexploded munition. That's what Tasneem News Agency has to say. Perhaps we are still awaiting some neutral, media house to report on the exact reason of this explosion in Kesheev Island. As you know, Akanksha, Kesheev Island is right at the entrance of the Hormuz Strait. Perhaps it's very, very important for Iran strategically. In fact, reports suggest that there are underground missile cities in Kesheev Island, and there is a huge, defense hardware stockpile at this island. And
did you hear what he said? At Kesheev Island, there are underground military facilities. Underground. And this is something else, right? Like, people have to remember that Iran, they have weapons underground, which is actually smart. They're way ahead. They've been ready for this. So those drones, I don't know what those drones thought they were going to do, but a lot of these weapons, they are deep underground. That's why I was trying to tell you guys, like, they can't defeat Iran. Number one, they can't defeat Iran by air. The only way they even have a chance is by having ground troops. And Donald Trump isn't going to tell you that. Pete Hegseth isn't going to tell you that. But that's the reality. How can you defeat them by air if all of that stuff is deep underground? And they've probably buried it even deeper since the first attack. They don't want to admit to you that there's nothing they can't win here. They can't. So they'll just try to continue to blow up their bridges and kill innocent people because they can't get underground.
Very, very important for Iran strategically, perhaps when it comes to blocking Hormuz and the waterway. And now it's being reported that explosion is heard. Tasneem News is saying that it has to do with neutralizing unexploded munition. That is what Tasneem News Agency is reporting. Perhaps let's wait for some more time to get more clarity on the reason behind this explosion.
From Iran.
Yeah. Trying to neutralize those drones. So, and this is why you have to follow like other outlets. Cause like I said, a lot of times when I hear this news about the Middle East, I find out about it very quickly because I'm following other outlets, like outlets that are overseas that are reporting in the Middle East. I don't wait for Western media to cover it because by the time CNN, Fox News, MS Now, by the time they recover it, it's already been crafted in the message that comes from the State Department, just like they tried to lie about that girls' school, how they tried to lie about that. And if you were listening to media abroad, they would have told you that the girls' school was already on the map. So it's things like that, right? So we have to listen to other things. There's also this issue with how Iran has hurt and decimated the U.S. Military, and including like our weapons and whatever is left of it. So I want you to hear from this guy here. He's an Iraq war veteran. His name is Paul. He was on Piers Morgan's show. Listen to what he said about what's happened to the U.S. weapon capability.
And what the American public doesn't want is 10 years, 20 years of a prolonged war being advocated for by chicken hawks in Washington and around the world who want to send American boys and girls to die in a land where we waste billions and trillions of dollars and get nothing outcome in return, both economically and strategically. So my biggest concern as an American is that this makes America weaker. This makes us more vulnerable. He's going to try to negotiate with China this week, who's standing there just licking their chops because 41% of our Navy is in the Gulf right now. So Iran has become a sucking chest wound for our military and for our economy, and it has our enemies celebrating. Iran is actually in a better position, in my view, strategically long-term. China is in the best position of all because they can just sit there and watch us punch ourselves out. So to answer your question, Piers, yes, he's looking for an off-ramp, but it doesn't look like there is one because the Iranians refuse to accept his terms.
Yep. And
now he's got us over a barrel in what could be a quagmire that could go on for years. And I think most importantly, I think this will be the number one issue in the 2028 election. I mean, this will become the seminal issue here in America. And it's either the Democrats or Republicans within his own party who are going to have to run against the Iran war and creating that off-ramp because it doesn't look like Donald Trump can find it.
Yep, that's gonna be a big one. But yeah, like we've lost a lot in terms of weapons. I've spoken to Larry, both the Larrys, about this as well. Here's another one that is coming through here. I think this is interesting. Iran is preparing to continuously fire hundreds of missiles per day at Gulf energy infrastructure, refineries, ports, and water desalination plants as soon as the U.S. resumes strikes. Iran's IRGC says it will return the Emirates to the era of riding camels and occupy Abu Dhabi if necessary. The Houthis would also immediately shut oh boy, that's the Red Sea. The Red Sea to open up a second maritime front against the U.S. with initial steps towards the blockade already taken. There is a community note here that says the IRGC quote about the era of riding camels and occupying Abu Dhabi comes from Iranian analyst Mehdi Karadian in April 29th of 2026 YouTube interview. So not a recent statement. But they are preparing to get ready. One of the things that Scott Ritter said, too, that I thought was interesting, he said that if the U.S. strikes Iran again this time around, the UAE is going to be destroyed. Because the UAE did also participate in strikes against Iran when the U.S. and Israel were striking it. So that's going to be done. The UAE has basically sided with Israel. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. And that's apparently where Israel was going to try to get weapons from in the future. They're going to try to work with the UAE for that. So the UAE has basically become East Israel. That's what we call it that. It's crazy and obscene. But the reality is, like, Iran is not playing around. And why would they? This, I think, is very important. This is from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'll bring this in here. She said, if you send in U.S. military troops into Iran, there is going to be a political revolution in America. We are done. We said no more foreign wars, and we meant it. The coalition will unite and be unstoppable. I'll make sure of it. In this war, it's stupid. Whoo. Yeah, man, this is something. So again, a lot of times people say now is not the time. And I want you to start saying now is the time. Now is the time to fight back and to push back, right? Like now is the time to say, no, we're not supporting these wars. I want everybody going into 2028 to make a promise to yourself that you are not going to support these pro-war candidates, that you're going to strive to support someone who's against the wars, not someone who supports it. Because if you support someone who's for the wars, it gets us right back to this point. Now that the U.S. has already attacked Iran, There's nothing stopping the next person from coming in 2028 from doing the same thing because it's already been done. The other presidents prior to Trump, they chose not to do that because they knew what would happen. But now it's been done. So I just see that someone else trying to do this again. I really do. They'll take the time to study it. They'll get talked into it by who knows who else, and we'll go from there. But now is the time. All right, let's go to some of the comments here. And Eric, we're going to go ahead and flip to the Thomas Massie part. Delthea says, I'm pretty sure we can put Trump in an ice flow. I think the Bible says we have to. Thank you for the super chat, Marlon. Keeping us at war is a strategy from Yahoo. Thank you, Newbie. The ballroom bunker is to keep them safe as the pandemic kills off most of us. Ding, ding, ding. Somebody's been paying attention. Thank you, Measured Man. In my opinion, they have psychologically learned how to drive Donald Trump, which is why the Lego videos have him pissed. They are winning all around. Thank you, Kay. Where's the passion for our crime bill? Chud terrorized FBA. I'm concerned our harm is glossed over. All these foreign citizens and countries are always a priority. No one is safe until we are protected. Yeah, I think that you should push your representatives on that. I've talked about that on this show multiple times. So the people in office are the ones not doing these things. I think they called it. Okay, I think they called it. All right, ladies and gents, if you haven't had a chance to do so, smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. Let's keep it moving and grooving. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the results here. We got it up here. Yeah, we got it up. All right, guys. It gives me no pleasure to say this, but it appears the race in Kentucky has been called and Thomas Massie has lost this congressional race. I want to go ahead and show you the numbers here. We're looking at this part right here where it says District 4. I was trying to highlight just that one part. As you can see, they've already called it. It's 74% in. Ed the Fed got over 45,000 votes with 54.4%. Thomas Massie got 45.6% so far. And look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, okay? This is not the outcome that I know you guys watching wanted to happen. Because Ed Galerian is pro-Israel. Ed Galerian received donations from someone who was in the Epstein files. He is part of the Epstein class now at this point. Guys, I got to tell you some things. Like, I've never seen this amount of money poured into a primary race before in my life. I think this is historic. And at this point, something that you have to put aside the fact that Thomas Massie is a libertarian / Republican. Just put that aside for a minute and let's focus on the big issue. How many times are we going to see Congress members removed from office because pro-Israel money comes in to get them out? How many times? How many times are we going to see money control everything? Now, this is not the ending I wanted. This is not the result I wanted. I know this isn't the result that Thomas Massie wanted. But I think something's going to come from this. I think you're going to see a shift. I would not be surprised if some of Thomas Massie's supporters leave the party. I'll tell you why. I would not be surprised if some of Thomas Massie's supporters leave the party because of the way that he was done. I'm going to show you some of the things that's been happening behind the scenes before this was called. Because the people that were voting for Ed Galerian, from what I was seeing, they weren't voting for him based on policy. And I want to show you that. Let's bring this out here. Actually, let me go to that video first. Let's look at the money. When we look at these donations, in-state versus out-of-state, Thomas Massie had more donations in-state. Now, both of them, most of their money came from out-of-state. So in-state is dark green, out-of-state is light green. But Thomas Massie had more money coming from people in Kentucky. Ed Galrian did not. But if you look at the numbers here, most of their money came from out-of-state. If you look at the map, Thomas Massie Kentucky donor map, look at all the money that was coming from people inside Kentucky. Look at Ed the Fed's Kentucky map. Notice he doesn't have as many people donating to him for inside Kentucky. So this is corrupt. This race was bought. And I want you to hear what this guy said here, because he was on the ground and they're doing exit polls and they're going to tell you how people were voting and why they were voting for who. Listen to this.
What I find very interesting is of the 62 Massie votes, there has not been a single anti-Ed person within them, meaning they're voting strictly for Thomas Massie and his policy versus voting against Ed Galrian. But when we look at the 52 who voted for Ed Galrian, of them, 30 said they voted for Ed because they are anti-Massie. 18 of them said that they are pro-Trump. And only 4 of those 52 have said, I'm voting for Ed because of his policy. And when asked which policy, I wasn't really able to get a straight answer. So also 12 Democrats, we polled them, 0 for Ed, 12 for Massie. And of the people walking, what I find very interesting is of the 62 Massie.
So there were some Democrats that voted for Thomas Massie. But the part that I wanted you to hear is that the majority of people who voted for Ed the Fed did not vote for him because of his policies. They voted for him because that's who Donald Trump endorsed, right? Or they were voting against Thomas Massie. Essentially, some of these people could have been voting against their own interests and not even realizing it. We're going to get to who some of the people were in a minute. We have to do sweeping political education across this country. Unfortunately, this is what happens a lot of times. Friend of the show, Roger Meadows, explained this to me over a year ago. The majority of people don't vote based on policy. Ding, ding, ding. Number one, political education. We need to start educating people on policy. Thomas Massie had more support from younger voters. Ed the Fed had more support from the older voters, people over the age of 50. And we got to have a conversation with our boomer population. I don't know what it is, but we got to have some talk. Because it seems like to me, and it's not everybody, I want to be fair, it's not all boomers, but it seems like to me, y'all don't want change. It seems like to me, and I've said this before about Black boomers as well. It seems like you guys got your houses and just said, fuck everybody else. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's what it feels like to people like me. To those of us that are millennials, it feels like you guys, you got what you could get out of life. You got your homes, you started your family, and you just basically said, fuck everybody else. That's how it feels. I feel like you don't want change. I feel like you just want everything to just stay the way it is. Or I hear this saying of, that's the way we've always done it. This is the way it's always been. I don't understand. And my question is, you're coming from a generation where there was a lot of fight. You're coming from a generation that was a part of the civil rights movement, the women's movement, all different types of movements happened under your generation. And I feel like, it's just like one day you just woke up and said, oh, well, this is it. I don't understand that. And I feel like you guys are holding us back. I really do. I get that you're fine and you're settled, but there's a whole generation behind you. There's multiple generations behind you, and we're not okay. And I feel like you guys don't care. I feel like you're holding us back. You guys got progress in your generation. When you were growing up, you got it, but you don't want anybody else to have it. You're the same ones that told me when I went to talk to people about Medicare for all, you were the same ones that told me I already got Medicare, so I don't care. This type of selfishness is not going to help us as a society. This is not going to help us as a society. It's not. Now we're going to get into some of the other things that happened because this is showing you how people vote, ladies and gentlemen, right? So let me come back here. Thomas Massie was questioned about AIPAC here. Like this really pisses me off. It pisses me off that Thomas Massie lost, not because I'm a fan of Thomas Massie. I don't agree with Thomas Massie on probably 90% of the issues, but we agree on anti-war. We agree on not giving Israel fucking money. We agree. And you know what else Thomas Massie said? The reason why he got into politics was because of the local issues that were happening in his community where they were creating these zoning laws where people couldn't even open a freaking daycare if they wanted to because the zoning board would come in and block it. It was local issues that prompted him to get involved in electoral politics. That's important. That matters. Like, we knew we could count on him not to vote for these damn wars. We knew we could count on him not to send money to Israel. Thomas Massie went against the big, beautiful bill, which wasn't beautiful. So there were areas where we did agree, where there was that overlap. And so Trump had to get him out. He said, we got to get him out of there because he's not bowing to me. He's not kneeling to me. This is a problem when we have presidents that are controlling congressional elections. That's not a democracy. Listen to what he said here.
There have been more than $32 million spent on a primary in this congressional district, which is now the most expensive House primary ever in the United States. Is it worth it?
You'd have to ask Miriam Adelson on May 20th if it was worth it. Because, you know, they tried to buy my vote for 14 years and it was never for sale. Now they're trying to buy a seat here in Kentucky. I think they underestimated the reserve price of my constituents. They waded into this. They thought they could buy this seat with a couple million. That didn't work. And now they're throwing good money after bad. The thing that surprised me is how much money we've been able to raise. I don't have 3 billionaires who want to just throw their money away. I've got the grassroots, tens of thousands of donations. Average donation for me is about $80. And we've been able to go toe to toe. A lot of that 32 million is coming from our side, but it's coming from regular working Americans.
When you say that they spent money to try to buy the seat, who are you talking about specifically?
I'm talking about the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, Republican Jewish Coalition, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson. These are the groups that have given 95% of the money to my opponent because they're mad at me over foreign policy. Now, what's interesting is my policy has always been, no country is special and no country deserves my constituents' taxpayer dollars. So I have never voted for foreign aid to Egypt, to Syria, to Israel, or to Ukraine. But the ones in Israel, since they're the biggest recipients of it, that makes them a little bit mad.
What's so wrong about?
But he's right. And this is where I agree with him. We're not even taking care of people in our own country. We got people here that can't eat, getting evicted. We got a homelessness crisis in this country that continues to increase, but we're sending money somewhere else. This doesn't make any damn sense.
About helping defend Israel from Iranian threats?
We've got debt. I mean, at least with NATO, there's the promise of a reciprocal arrangement. With Israel, it's completely one way. And they drug us into wars. They've convinced us that Iran is just days away from a nuclear weapon, and they're perpetually that way. This is not our war. Israel, for instance, funds abortions publicly. I think a lot of Republicans would be aghast to know that we're giving $3.8 billion a year every year to a country that funds public abortions.
You know that kind of criticism.
A lot of people don't know that.
Doesn't sit well with fellow Republicans, at least in the House Republican Conference, that there are others who've accused you of all sorts of things regarding Israel, regarding the state of Israel, regarding the Israeli government, regarding Jewish Americans. Are you anti-Semitic?
They're trying to tell you that it's anti-Semitic for me to expose the fact that the Republican Jewish coalition has spent millions of dollars in this race. That a dual citizen, Miriam Adelson, who even Trump says is more loyal to Israel than the United States, has spent millions of dollars in this race. Those are mere facts. And it's
Okay,
really...
but it's a yes or no. Are you anti-Semitic or not?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
I'm hell no anti-Semitic. But here's the danger that AIPAC runs. They've been too cute by a half. They've tried to...
Notice how they try to get everybody with that. They try to get everybody with, are you anti-Semitic?
Get Mike Johnson, and he's willingly done this, conflate in resolutions on the House floor that anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism. Or even worse yet, that if you don't support Benjamin Netanyahu's war in Gaza, then you're anti-Semitic. That's absolutely false, and it does Jewish Americans a big disfavor to equate the two.
Exactly. Exactly. Right? So when all else fails, they try to get him with the anti-Semitic thing. And I don't know, man. I was worried about this. I saw this happen to other Congress members. I saw it happen to Jamal Bowman. I saw it happen to Cori Bush. They brought in the big pro-Israel money to get them out. Now, Jamal, I had my issues with Jamal because I feel like Jamal Bowman didn't really fight the way that he should have. But Cori Bush, it got to the point where, from what I was told, was that her office, I guess, had upset the apple cart too much that they were told that they weren't even allowed to talk. And then they got her out of there with pro-Israel money. So this is what I've been saying. Like, everybody should be screaming about this. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or neither one. This is a problem. They've been using this money to get these people out of their seats. And for the people who fall for it, this is what I don't understand. For the people in Kentucky who fell for this bullshit, what the hell is wrong with you? Now, some of them may be evangelical Christians and they still have this love and belief of Israel. There needs to be a little bit more work done in the Republican Party, because the recent poll that I saw showed that the majority of Republicans still overwhelmingly support Israel. A lot of the youth are moving against that. But when you look at the numbers from the Democrat and the Republican Party, the majority of Democrats do not support Israel anymore. The majority of Republicans still do. So there's some work that still needs to be done there in the Republican Party, and everybody need to start with the church, because that's where a lot of the brainwashing is coming from. The evangelical churches, these pastors who fly over to Israel, they get these lavish trips and they soak up this doctrine to come back to the United States and to brainwash you with supporting a genocide. That's where a lot of it is. You guys don't understand. You see the reason why I don't go to church? This is part of the reason why. The reason why I don't go to church anymore. And I grew up in the church because I saw some of that propaganda and the brainwashing. We have to get people to start thinking independently and not just thinking about what your pastor tells you to think about, what your organization tells you to think about, what this political party tells you to think about. When I say be independent, I mean independent from all of it, and think for yourself. Now, this is something that was very interesting about this Massie coalition. Shout out to Trevor. Vino mom, who is Tiffany Cianci. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Cianci. She's the one that recruited people. She recruited these unpaid creators committed to fighting corruption. They descended on Kentucky. Here are the numbers as of right now. So look at this. This was the press release that went out. Dozens of independent creators from across the political spectrum descend on Kentucky in an unprecedented digital ground operation, generating 5 million views in 24 hours. Let me show you who she brought together. Look at this part right here, second paragraph. The coalition defies easy categorization, Libertarians, progressives, American First conservatives, anti-war voices, and independent journalists who disagree with each other on most political issues arrived at the same place for the same reason: a shared conviction that the race to represent Kentucky's 4th congressional district has become a referendum on whether American elections can be purchased by outside money. I have never seen this before. I knew there were libertarians. I did not realize there were also progressive. Guys, she managed to get a coalition of people together to come there and to help Thomas Massie. She didn't, when she put out the video, which I saw, she didn't say, I'm calling on all conservatives. She didn't say, I'm calling on all libertarians. She said, I'm calling on all creators to come to Kentucky and help Thomas Massie keep his seat. It's us versus the billionaires and the Epstein class. And so because she didn't, pigeonhole it, because she didn't say just one group and said everybody was welcome, everybody came. I've never seen this before. And I've never seen this type of, maybe the closest was Bernie. Maybe. But I've never seen this for a congressional candidate. All these people come together like that. The money is what stops a lot of it. And then you look at people like Stephen Miller. There were a lot of lies that were told. There were AI ads, which should be illegal. See what I was telling you about the danger of AI? They were creating AI ads to make it look like Thomas Massie was hanging out with AOC and Ilhan Omar. They were fake videos, and they ran them. But we have no rule against it. See what I was saying about the danger of AI? And people actually believed it. Then you had idiots like Stephen Miller telling people lies about Thomas Massie. Listen to this.
Stephen Miller here to talk with you about a very important subject, which is how Tom Massie betrayed America, betrayed you, and betrayed your children. The single most important issue affecting the future of our country is ending the mass third world invasion of America and reversing that invasion. And on the most important issue, on the most important vote, on the most important bill, on the most important day, Tom Massie sided with every House Democrat, every Senate Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer against President Trump, against the American people, and against you and your family. When the time came to vote for President Trump's signature border security and immigration enforcement bill, the bill to provide record funding for ICE and Border Patrol and mass deportation, Tom Massie voted no. Tom Massie voted to kill the bill. Tom Massie sided with the House and Senate Democrats over the sovereignty of this republic. I personally called Tom Massie and I said, Tom, this is the most important vote of your life and career. This is the vote to reverse the invasion of America. We need your vote. We need your support. And Tom Massie said we can all pound sand.
So let me tell you how he's being disingenuous. Community Notes is catching all of his posts because Massie was the sole Republican to vote against the DHS funding bill, citing its funding of CISA for online censorship, not opposition to border security. You see how he twists this? Because it wasn't a single issue bill. The bill also included censorship. That's why he voted against it. Now, that's something else I do agree with Thomas Massie on, is I'm against that censorship bullshit and the surveillance. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. I may sound crazy, and if you think I am, that's okay. It was brought to my attention that one of the reasons that Donald Trump needs Thomas Massie out of Congress is because he really wants to try to pass some type of constitutional amendment so that he can have a third term. Of course, Thomas Massie would vote against that. Everybody hear what I'm saying? What does everybody think the ballroom is for? This ballroom, which is basically a bunker full of defense and surveillance and data center, whatever you want to call it all combined, that will be Donald Trump's safe haven where he can bury himself in that bunker ballroom And if it is called time to remove him from office, I don't think he's going to go peacefully. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Look at everything he's done with the Supreme Court. Donald Trump, and he already has the money in the backing for Marianne Adelson to do this. She's already agreed that he could do the third term. That shows you who's really running this damn country. Donald Trump is not going to go lightly. He has not endorsed J.D. Vance. Erica Kirk did, but you know, she kind of cuckoo too. Donald Trump hasn't endorsed J.D. Vance. Donald Trump hasn't endorsed Marco Rubio. I don't think Donald Trump plans on going any damn where. 2028 is going to be a scary time. I'm warning everybody right now, because I already see the crazy shit that's happening online, how people are coming for people, and the presidential election hasn't even started. Thomas Massie is the one that can hold up the vote. He's the one that says, nope, we're not passing that. Republicans have a narrow majority in the House. So with Thomas Massie gone, and he got Ed the Fed to come in there and do his bidding, and I want to tell you something else about Ed the Fed. Ed is one of those people that believes that this Iran war is necessary so we can accelerate the apocalypse. He believes in all that. Him and Donald Trump. These people are fucking crazy. And that's what this is all about. Ed would support it. Ed would vote for it. And they needed Massie out of the way. Now, no other Republican in the House is going to challenge him. They're going to come for Lauren Boebert's seat next. And then probably also Nancy Mace. Everybody who went forward with the Epstein files. Now, you can say whatever you want about all these other people in Congress, but I'm looking at people who actually accomplish things. Thomas Massie accomplished something, more than one thing. And Ro Khanna joined along with them. When people were talking about who should run and all this kind of stuff, I'm looking at receipts. I'm looking to see who's actually accomplished things. So Thomas Massie, he put his career on the line to do the right thing. And these people in Kentucky who voted for Ed, they don't believe in the right thing. They're fucking brainwashed. They listen to Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. They're voting against the right thing. Don't come to me and say you're Christian. You can't be if you're giving a pass to Epstein. Don't come to me with any of that. You can't be if you support genocide and killing babies and shit. What have we come to as a country? And the younger people, they know better. They're more curious. They're more intuitive. They're going to do research and look these things up for themselves. But like I said, some of the boomers, not all of you, but some of the boomers, some of y'all got comfortable and you just said, fuck it. This is very dangerous. There are still too many people in this country that just believe everything that Donald Trump says. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you guys right now. Come 2028, we have an anti-war candidate and a candidate that is not pro-Israel. It's going to take more than just the left for that person to win. You guys hear me? That's not enough anymore. Independents are determining elections. You need the independents. Donald Trump got the independents 2024. Biden got him in 2020. Donald Trump got him in 2016. The days of Obama and George W. Bush, those days are gone. You need the independents. If we don't all come together over this, we're going to lose everything. There'll be nothing left. We'll own nothing. Nothing. You hear me? Marianne Adelson will be running this fucking country. So I don't have time for the purity bullshit. I don't have time for the people saying, don't talk to that person. Don't work with that. We don't have time for that. And I hope this shows people that at the end of the day, the money is what's driving a lot of this. This was just an example to show you when Thomas Massie did not support the big, beautiful bill because he was like, no, I'm not voting for that.
over the next 10 years. I'm telling you, it's closer to $30 trillion of new debt in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, we're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg. If something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight. I oppose this bill.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I mean, again, he was willing to stand up. Again, do I agree with him on everything? No. Listen to what he said here if he loses. Thomas Massie did find a sense of humor in all this.
I cannot wait for May 19th. It's going to be so great. You know, just in case I lose, they gave me the number to call to concede. The area code is Tel Aviv, though.
That was kind of funny. He said the area code is Tel Aviv. I mean, that was kind of funny. One more thing that I wanted to show you here. Nick hit the nail on the head with this. Go, Nick, for this one. The Kentucky Boomers voting against Thomas Massie. The 65-year-old supporter. Oh my God, I'm gonna support. They're our greatest ally, is physically incapable of recognizing his own best interests, has never heard of the USS Liberty in his life, gives his entire pension to Israel, thinks Ben Shapiro is the smartest man in the world. We've got to support them or the bad guys will come attack us. God curses those who curse Israel. I think Nick hit the nail on the head with that one. It just, you know. Now, let's look at the numbers just one more time to see if there's been any movement. I'm just going to refresh. Yeah, no. This is crazy. This just goes to show you how someone like Ed the Fed, who, from what I understand, wasn't really campaigning, wasn't really showing his face, came out of nowhere, was backed by all this money, and Trump said Ed the Fed needs to win and sent Pete Hegseth there. And just like that, people just fall in line and vote for him. It's crazy. And he's pro-war. So I will say this. I know people see this and they get really discouraged, but I do just want to say that I think something is going to come from this. I think that I'm going to sit back and watch. But I think some of these people that voted for Thomas Massie, they might leave I think some of these people might leave the Republican Party. And they might become independents. And I think that needs to happen. I saw something similar happen 2016, Bernie and Hillary, when the DNC cheated Bernie Sanders at the Democratic convention, and they gave some of his states to Hillary Clinton because that's who the donor class wanted. Some of the people who supported Bernie in 2016, they left the Democratic Party after that. Some of them went and voted for Trump out of spite. This isn't talked about enough, actually. But some of them, they said, peace out. Some of them stuck around in 2020 to 2020, Bernie 2020, and then after that, left the Democratic Party. So I think something is going to happen there. The big money is the problem. And, hopefully we can find a way around this. And I'm telling you guys right now, if there's a grassroots candidate that's running in 2028, they're going to have a really hard time. This race meant so many different things. If they put up 32 million against Thomas Massie, what do you think they're going to put up against a presidential campaign? So when people say that now is not the time, I say no, now is the time. Now is the time to be even more aggressive with the way that we vote. It's not enough. Guys, you got to tell these politicians when they're on the campaign trail, especially come 2028, you're going to have to tell them to their face. Don't just smile and take pictures with them. You're going to have to tell them to their face. It's not enough for you to anymore to just say you're not Trump. You're going to have to be anti-war and you can't support Israel. And you need to do something for the community. What are you going to do for us? Because all this money that we've been giving Israel, meanwhile, all their people are able to have health care. We got people dying here with medical debt. We got people dying here with medical illnesses because they don't have the money to get the treatment that they need to treat that illness. I don't care who the candidate is. I'm telling you guys right now, don't come to me come 2028 and say, well, Sabs, you guys just let it slide. No slide. No slide. So you tell them whatever your demands are, and people have different demands, but whatever your demands are, you need to let them know what they need to do for you in order to get your vote. It's just not enough anymore to just say, okay, I'm just going to give it to you just because you're not Trump. We are heading into dangerous times. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. I know, guys, it makes me sad too. It makes me sad too. We'll talk about it on Call In tonight. Thank you, Kevin. 20, I was going to go blue to stop Trump. Then warmonger Biden accused Donald Trump of favoring dictator Maduro, who asked to negotiate. Piss off, I wrote in Ventura. Thank you, Iron Will. Exactly how I feel as a millennial. I feel 1000%. Thank you, Macmillan. Trump on TS already posted Galrian wins. Yeah, I know. Shout out to the Flower Bow, who's been a member for 2 months. Political revolution achieves a revolution for the people, requires education, class solidarity, absolute. The 3,084 transnational billionaires. Thank you, Willie. While I would never support Tucker Carlson, I can acknowledge from a distance he's correct to oppose Israel. Briahna Joy Gray for president 2028. Thank you. Yoga says, I heard a lot of that money went to fake. Yeah, they had fake AI campaign videos showing Massie having affairs with AOC. Not sure if that's true, but Ed the Fed campaign targeted boomers who aren't AI savvy. There you go. Queen says, damn, as a leftist, this makes me sad. Yeah, that's the thing. And like, there were people online and they were like, why are some leftists wanting him to win? I said, because Israel is trash and we don't want a genocide. Thank you, user. That generation was first to be part of this fraud. Big Yaz says, my family lost healthcare and food assistance, but got to send our money to Israel. That's how I'm gonna frame a lot of things from now on. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have healthcare? Did you know they sent money to Israel and they have healthcare? Thank you, Marlon. Can't say it enough how registering as independent would put them all in a panic state if all the people who disapprove of current administration showed them by leaving both parties would be revolutionary. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you, Measured Man. The ballroom now has a state-of-art hospital added to it and now has been expanded by another 9,000 feet. Y'all see this? And thank you, Newbie. There is no 2028. That could be another thing. That could be another thing, right? Donald Trump said to Turning Point USA, you know what he told them? He said, we don't need a presidential election in 2028, do we? Thank you, Larry. Billionaires building bunkers, then the Trump builds a bunker under the White House, and people just walking around like this is regular, all these data centers and Kushner doing foreign policy illegally. Yeah. People acting like it's no big deal. Thank you, Miss Sparkle. Damn, I'm scared Vivek might win Ohio now. Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy, man. Thank you, Flower Bro. There are only 3,084 billionaires in the entire world. See, more of us. And thank you, The Fake. Are you going to bring on Blake Bednars? I don't know Blake. I don't know who that is. Thank you, VA. Thank you for your professionalism and vast knowledge on these topics. I come here for the news they don't talk about or show on major networks. Keep it coming, Sabby. Thank you. Well, let's get to something spicy, shall we? Oh, buddy. We thought about it and it's happening. We have a major update with the Luigi Mangione case. It appears that apparently law enforcement made a big mistake, and now some of their evidence is being thrown out. Ladies and gentlemen, from what I'm seeing so far, it could be possible that Luigi Mangione could indeed walk. Now, we have to remember, Luigi Mangione did not plead guilty. He pled not guilty. He also said the American people are not stupid enough to fall for this. So I hear a lot of people saying that, Luigi, he did not plead guilty. He pled not guilty. And people need to remember that. Let's go ahead and get into the news that broke just recently. Like I said, wild.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. Let's get right to breaking news. A New York judge is ruling to limit the evidence allowed in the state case against the United Healthcare CEO murder suspect. When police arrested him, they seized evidence from his backpack, including the alleged murder weapon and writings investigators say could be considered a confession. But the defense argued the way the police obtained those items was unconstitutional. Now a judge has just decided what the jury will get to see. ABC News legal analyst Brian Buckmeyer and ABC's Peter Haralambous are here with the details on that ruling.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So, Peter, it's all about where this evidence was seized, right? Nothing seized at the McDonald's is going to be allowed, but that still leaves a lot of stuff still in. So break this down for us. What's in and what's out?
That's exactly right. It's kind of a mixed bag here based on when they actually found the items in the backpack. And I think the big takeaway is the main items we were concerned about, the gun itself and the writings that prosecutors say amount to a confession. Those were actually found at the police station, a different part of the search. And the judge is saying that prosecutors can use that evidence. However, the judge is limiting some information, the actual items they took from his bag at the McDonald's, specifically the gun magazine, his cell phone, passport, wallet, and a computer chip. All of those are now off the table, according to this judge. So a little bit of a win for Mangione there. But overall, this is a pretty good ruling for prosecutors here.
Uh-oh. The majority of the items that were taken from Luigi Mangione's book bag are not going to be admissible in court. Number one, his lawyer, and Luigi got a good one. She's one of the top lawyers. His lawyer said that his bag was searched without his permission, and not within his vicinity. So they took his bag away from him, walked away from him, and searched the bag so he couldn't even see what they were doing. Now, why is this important? There have been many incidents in the past where law enforcement has been known to plant evidence. Not saying that they did. I don't know. But you can't illegally search someone. And because they did that, that's why these items are no longer admissible in court. So the jury's going to have to strike that from that. That's not even going to be relative anymore. And if you can't use, they said they can use the gun because that was at the police station. But if you can't use the other items that were in that book bag, I'm just asking this question. Do you actually have a case? We're talking about the journal. I'll get a little close up of these items. We're talking about the journal, the gun magazine. You can't use those things. Do you actually have a case against Luigi Mangione? Let's continue.
Brian, what makes some of this evidence admissible and some of it not?
All right, so we're all going to learn a bit about Fourth Amendment right here for a second,
Okay.
right?
Brian's taking us to school.
Let's start off from the idea that warrants are needed to search for things, right? But there are exceptions to not having a warrant. One of them would be exigent circumstance. And when we talked about the video that we saw of Luigi Mangione and that backpack separated from him as they were questioning it, the judge said there was no exigent circumstance to go through the backpack. You needed a warrant at that time. And we saw the video or the picture of Mangione at one table and the bag at another. And because of that separation in New York York law, that means that those items are not coming in, specifically the magazine, cell phone, passport, wallet, and computer chip. Now, the judge is saying an inventory search, when law enforcement brings you to the station house or to the precinct and they're looking through your bag to do an inventory and they're taking photos, that was done properly. That doesn't require a warrant because it's one of those exceptions as well. We want to kind of make sure when people get arrested, they don't have bombs or guns inside of their belongings when they are getting processed. So things like the gun or the notebook or the photographs of the notebook, those are all coming in because those are a proper search procedure. And those are probably the more damning piece of evidence for the prosecution. So mixed bag overall, but I think the prosecution's a little bit happier with this ruling than maybe the defense.
And Brian, it's interesting. You say this won't only impact the trial, that it'll impact jury selection. Why?
So think about it this way, right? It's about the evidence that can be portrayed. We're clearly all talking about this. People are clearly watching ABC and other networks and watching this. When jury selection happens and they ask the question of, well, did you hear about the magazine or the passport or other things that might have been evidence of flight or criminality? And they say, yeah, I heard about that. Well, did that impact your way you're going to decide this case? Yeah, it kind of does. Those people are off the case now. There won't be in the jury. We're going to find a much more narrow jury who hasn't heard a lot of the evidence so far or the
They could also lie. They could also lie and said, no, I didn't hear about that. And they did. I mean, it's just, I mean, come on.
Ups and downs of there being a death penalty, there not being a death penalty. And it's going to come down to people who can either push all of that aside or have heard very little or nothing about this case.
Can you allow a juror who has heard about that evidence but says they don't think it would impact their decision?
I mean, a good attorney has the ability to ask questions and say, hey, maybe this does impact you. Did you have a loved one that maybe had a health insurance scare or an issue that wasn't paid for? Did you hear about this piece of evidence that there was a death penalty and they take it off? Did you see the almost like Gotham-like march of Mangione into New York? You can ask the questions and try to get them pulled off.
But just saying, like, yes, I heard that they found a magazine, would that get you excluded at this point because of this ruling or not?
The second part would have to be, and that affects my ability to be fair and impartial of this. But of course, there are tricks of the trade to try to get people on or off the jury.
So, Peter.
But as I was saying, they can also lie. You can lie and say that you didn't see that march through New York City of Eric Adams and that full police squad, like marching Luigi Mangione down the street. By the way, they were already saying Luigi was guilty, which his lawyer confronted this as well. They were already saying he was guilty in the media. Eric Adams did it. Police officers did it that spoke with the media. They already declared him guilty before the trial, which is also wrong. They were trying to make him guilty in the eye of public opinion. And I told you guys, like, when this was first reported and I saw those 3 different pictures of what was supposed to be Luigi Mangione, they said, oh, this is him here and this is him there. All of those pictures look like a different person. It did not look like the same person in those pictures. I believe for quite some time that Luigi Mangione is also a patsy. I've believed that for quite some time. And there's a reason why you're supposed to have a trial and the jury is supposed to look at the evidence and determine whether or not they think this person is innocent or guilty. But the corporate media and, of course, Eric Adams, they didn't even want to do things the right way. They wanted to tell you that he was guilty so that he would not receive a fair trial. And people need to pay attention to that, right? So we're going to find out because, like I said, I want to know who the 3 people, and they look like 3 different people in those pictures were, because none of them look like Luigi Mangione. The big thing about Luigi is the eyebrows. He's got the thick, he's got thick eyebrows. That stands out. So that's what I was noticing when I was looking at those pictures.
What happens next?
Yeah, the big question at this point is trial date. It's tentatively scheduled for this state murder case to begin on September 8th. Based on this ruling, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing Mangione's lawyers are going to be happy about. We'll have to see if they has to push that at all. And of course, Mangione at this point is facing 2 basically of the same trial. He has that state case in September, and then he has a federal case for stalking charges in January. So the big question is, how is the judge going to navigate those 2, and when's this trial actually going to begin?
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, Peter Haralambis.
Now, Luigi Mangione's lawyer right here, this is a powerful lawyer in New York City. She's not just some random lawyer. I looked into her when they announced who his lawyer was. And I'm just going to tell you right now, imagine if he couldn't afford to have a good lawyer and he had to have one that was, from the state. You know how they say, like, if you can't afford an attorney, the state will provide one for you. Oh, he would be fucked. They probably would have never even caught this, that he was searched and that the book bag was also searched when it was not in his possession, not in front of him. They probably wouldn't have even caught that. The last thing you want is for a state to, you know, provide an attorney for you. That means you're probably going to get fucked. Excuse my language, but that's usually what that means. You'll see here as well where they're showing some of these items.
Time so that we're all on the same page here. What is in and what is out?
Yeah, we have more clarification now on what is in and what is out. What is out, what the jury will not learn about, the bullet magazine. That's the magazine that full of bullets that Officer Christy Wasser found wrapped in wet underwear, because that was found in the backpack at McDonald's. The backpack was 9 feet away at another table, placed there by a police officer. Therefore, Judge Carroll found that was not in the control of Mangione, and that was an illegal search because there was no search warrant at that time for that backpack. The cell phone that he had, his passport, his wallet, and a computer chip that Christy Wasser, police officer Wasser, found at the McDonald's. She then takes the backpack an 11-minute or so ride to the police station. He's arrested. They start going through the backpack. She finds the gun. She finds a diary. That will be allowed in. The red diary will be allowed in, and the weapon will be allowed in. The judge in his ruling points out that the diary was opened, that police officers, for inventory purposes, photographed every page of the diary as they took that in. So obviously the judge has ruled that that was a legal search at the police station, which include those items. So that's why we're basically saying, I think Jonathan Turley is right. It's kind of a half victory, half win. Something's out, but most importantly, it appears now that the diary will be allowed in, and the weapon, the 9mm gun that police say was used to kill Brian Thompson.
Now, see how you heard two different things? He said the diary will be allowed in, and the other outlet said the diary would not be allowed in. I don't know. So you're hearing two different things, but most of these items are not going to be allowed in. So this is this thing does change. So one more part that I wanted to show you here is the reaction from Luigi Mangione when he was in court here.
So as to the map issues, I find that the search of the backpack at the McDonald's was improper, warrantless search, that the backpack was not within the immediate control or grabbable area of the defendant, and further, the people failed to demonstrate exigent circumstances. Therefore, those items found in the backpack during the search at the McDonald's will be suppressed. However, the people have established that the subsequent search of the backpack at the station was a valid inventory search, and therefore, the items recovered at the station will not be suppressed. So as to the Huntley issue, I find that the defendant was not in custody until about 9:47 a.m. So as to
this is an interesting point. Janine said, but the bag was in a different car than Luigi. So how was the bag in his possession? Yeah. I got to tell you guys, and I said it from day one, I think this Luigi case, it's messy. It's messy in a similar sense that the Tyler Robinson case is messy. Here's what I think happened. And this is just me guessing, right? I think that when the police showed up to the McDonald's to arrest who they believe to be Luigi Mangione, I believe they didn't have everything that they needed. I believe that they didn't have enough evidence to actually convict him. So I believe it's possible that things could have been planted in that book bag. That's what I believe. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like they felt as though this is the guy, this is the person, but we don't have everything we need to really stick it to him, to really nail it on him. And so I think they may have planted things there. And that's been done before. We'll find out. I don't know when this trial is going to begin. But when it does, a lot of people are going to be watching. That's for sure. A lot of people are going to be paying attention. There's a lot of weird things happening, folks. We have to call for and demand that people actually do have a fair trial or have a chance to have a fair trial. You know what I learned over the years is that, you know how they tell you that you have a right to have a trial, you know, by jury and all that kind of stuff. The majority of people that are arrested don't have a trial. A lot of times these cases don't actually go to court. Usually what ends up happening is that people end up taking a plea. And there are lawyers that specialize just in that. They just do plea deals. I call them pleers. And that avoids the trial and the money that goes into that. It avoids all that. But the majority of people do not actually receive a trial. And then there are those that are just sitting there in jail because they can't afford bail. That's the justice system. I think that we need to educate people about that system early on. Because I know when I was a kid, that's how they taught us in school. They said that you have a right to a trial by jury and da-da-da and all this kind of stuff. And we were learning civics and all that stuff when I was a little youngling. And as you get older and you start to learn how the system actually works, you realize that most people will never get a trial. And you don't always have a trial in front of a jury. So we'll pay attention. We'll keep an eye on this case. Alex, speedy trial. It's speedy, all right. Oh my gosh, it's speedy, all right. Let's go to some of the comments here. Oh, thank you, Hada. Sabby, stay away from that Blake mess. Don't listen to people and get into that foolishness. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Meta, you are too gleeful for a guy getting off for murder. We don't know that Luigi committed that murder. See, this is what I'm saying. We don't know that. I don't think he did, but I think more is going to come out. Thank you for the super chat. The fake Blake says Massie just lost. I know. We just talked about it. I know. Thank you, Marlon. In a whole other state with everything necessary for conviction, definitely planted evidence, in my opinion. Still having evidence makes no sense. There you go. Let's get that Rumble rant and let's keep it moving and grooving. All right. We can go to the Bree part. Okay, we got it here. Thank you for the Rumble rant, fully laden swallow. Would be curious to know how likely Trump would be impeached at this point. Well, Democrats would have to take back the House, but even then, Hakeem Jeffries said that's not a priority. That's what he said. He said it's not a priority to impeach Trump. So there you go. They both have similar donors. That's how that works. That's how it works. Okay, ladies and gents, we have one more story for you, and we are going to do call in tonight after the show. So I'm looking forward to that. If you have a chance, smash that like button for me. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. All right. Now is the time. Is now the time. Briahna Joy Gray is getting heavily attacked for something that was said during one of her podcasts that I think people are taking out of context. I also think some people are misrepresenting what she actually said. So let's go to that clip that has somebody so angry with her. And she is not being attacked by people on the right. She's being attacked by people on the left. Let's get into it. This is the clip that made people, I guess, lose their minds. It was this conversation here with Sana, and they were talking about coalition building, and they were talking about, Israel and all these other things. And this part was said right about here.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know many people on the left who would happily vote for Tucker Carlson before AOC. I'm frustrated by that dynamic because I don't want Tucker Carlson to be president. I also can't see myself damaging my own credibility by telling someone to vote for AOC. Like, these options hurt us all.
Okay. So in that statement, and I saw this entire episode on Bad Faith Podcast, okay? It's a good episode. Go check it out. In that statement, Briahna Joy Gray did not say that she would vote for Tucker Carlson, but some people are taking it that way. She said that she knows some leftists that said they would vote for Tucker Carlson. Now, I'm asking you to answer that poll question because I'm curious if you have heard the same thing. I personally haven't had any leftists tell me that they would vote for Tucker Carlson. But if you have heard that, let me know on that poll question that's there. And we'll pull that up at the end of this story because I'm curious. I don't really think this is just about her saying that some leftists she knows would vote for Tucker Carlson. I think part of the anger that is being thrown her way is because she said she didn't want to ruin her own credibility by telling people to vote for AOC. I think that's what really hit the nerve for some people. People have to remember that Bree, she voted green. She voted for Jill Stein. I voted for Jill Stein. But she was also one of the people that was never Biden. People have to remember this. She was Bernie Sanders' press secretary for his 2020 presidential election. The DNC did their old fuckery on Bernie again for a second time in a row after the 2016 presidential election. And when she was interviewed after it was just Biden, Briahna Joy Gray said she would not vote for Joe Biden. And she gave a list of reasons why. She wasn't alone. Nina Turner said the same thing. It was like all of a sudden people forgot who Joe Biden really was. I'm talking about someone who implemented policies that greatly harmed the Black community. We're talking about the crime bills. We're talking about a number of things. We're talking about the same guy who sat right there and stared right at what's her face? The woman who had the hearing against Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill. Sat right there in Anita Hill's face, and go back and watch that footage if you ever want to see just how nasty Joe Biden was. He was the chair of that committee in the Senate. And so Joe Biden would not allow Anita Hill's witnesses to testify against Clarence Thomas. Now, Clarence Thomas was in, the Republican Party, but you see how he was working to cover, so this whole thing about the partisanship, it's not about that. A lot of this goes back to money and power. And I remember seeing this, that Joe Biden sat right there and protected Clarence Thomas. And Anita Hill had evidence. So there's a number of things that many of us remember about Joe Biden. And I didn't think, unlike others, that Joe Biden was going to be able to be pushed to the left. And so a number of people said, don't want Trump again, vote for Biden. And Biden got in there and started a whole damn genocide. So some of us don't forget these things, right? So that was the comment that she made. Now, I want to show you both. I'm going to show you the things people are saying that, are the people attacking her, and I'm going to show you the people who are defending her. So here's one right here. This is from Raquel. Briahna Joy Gray is an idiot. If you'd rather vote for Tucker Carlson over AOC, you're an idiot. So let me just pause there for a second. You see how people are twisting this? Where did she say that she would vote for Tucker Carlson? She never said that. Goes on to say, if you'd rather vote for Tucker Carlson over AOC, you're an idiot. And she should be embarrassed to say this out loud, but clearly she's simply too stupid to realize this. Now, everybody, pay attention to the rhetoric, okay? Because I want to remind everybody of this come 2028, because I'm familiar with a lot of these accounts on X. Now, all of a sudden, the same people who didn't like people calling Kamala Harris an idiot have no problem. Hold up. Let me just highlight this here for a minute, because I'm going to show you how people, it was never about black this, black that. It was about protecting the Democratic Party. And everybody needs to pay attention to this. The same damn accounts who were coming after people who were calling Kamala Harris an idiot or stupid, those types of names, and said, anybody out there calling Kamala an idiot or stupid is anti-black and da-da-da, and they just don't like her because she's a black woman. Now, all of a sudden, these same accounts have no problem calling Briahna Joy Gray an idiot who is a black woman. Does everybody see the problem here? This is what I meant to tell you. Okay? All this stuff that you heard in 2024, when people said, you just don't like her because she's black. You don't like her because she's a black woman. Yeah, there's some people that just didn't like her because she was black, but that was not the majority, okay? But what kills me is that those same accounts have no problem calling another black woman an idiot, which goes to show you it was never about that. It was about being pro-Democrat. You get me? A lot of these online accounts, a lot of these people, it was never about being pro-black. It's about being pro-Democrat. Let's go on. These people drive me crazy. Here's another one. Big D Democrat is attacking her and says, Briahna Joy Gray is a grifting piece of crap and now not an ally whatsoever. What a fucking absurd take. No leftist would vote Tucker Carlson over AOC. Big D Democrat. Pay attention to these accounts, right? Here's another one. Briahna Joy Gray is one of the dumbest people to walk this earth, I swear to God. See, now all of a sudden it's okay to call black women dumb and idiot and stupid? But the same people told you in 2024 not to say those things about Kamala Harris because she was black. Not because she was qualified, not because of her policies, but simply because she was black. I've been alive long enough to know that a lot of times this is not about that at all. This is about protecting these parties, these political parties. And people will come up with whatever reason they want to make sure that the party is protected. I sat there in 2024 and I watched people, even back then, call Bree all kind of names. They called me names too. Roland Martin came after me, and I'm not a Trump supporter. I said, there's some demands coming Kamala's way, and she should probably agree to those demands if she wants a chance of winning. I was called dumb and stupid by Roland Martin, and he was the same one telling people not to call Kamala that because she's black. All of a sudden, I wasn't black, though. See how that works? These will be the same people that if AOC does run for president in 2028, these will be the same people calling you misogynist if you don't want her. Wait for it. 2028 is going to be nasty. I'm seeing a lot of nastiness come out, but I'm also seeing some people defend. Willie Bragg Show said Briahna Joy Gray was correct to support Force the Vote. It's just typical of post-left watch to criticize her. What critics refuse to acknowledge against those of us who criticize AOC is that playing nice with right-wing Democrats did not get us Medicare for all. Has a point. Interesting point. Casey said, as long as Democrats keep blaming people like Briahna Joy Gray for their failures and hold up Bernie or AOC as visionaries, they deserve to lose. It's pathetic to be so in the tank for politicians that have failed you this badly. Here's another one. Amateur says, this is rage bait clip. This is not what Briahna Joy Gray believes. She is acknowledging these people exist. At no point in the history of her podcast has she stated she agrees with them. And that's true. I've never seen her say that. And that's why it was just weird to me how people were being so disingenuous about this. Mikey says, where's the lie? Libs melting over this other than keeping their party in check and demanding better. Pathetic, gutless behavior smearing Briahna for the spinelessness of the Democratic Party. And I'm telling you guys right now, okay? Because wait for it. Wait for it. Come 2028, if AOC runs in 2028 and she loses, it's not going to be because of Briahna Joy Gray. Briahna Joy Gray has no power. She's a podcaster. I'm a podcaster, but it's not like we're Joe Rogan. We're not. We don't have that type of reach. It won't be because of her. It'll be because of the behavior that you just saw online. Here's her responding. In her recent Bad Faith podcast, she brings up this issue.
In some ways, this conversation keeps getting reframed very unproductively as, do you support Tucker Carlson, or do you, broadly align with Tucker Carlson or Marjorie Taylor Greene or whomever? And it's like, well, I agree with his view on Palestine narrowly. I support the fact that he's platforming that view. I'm encouraged by the extent to which his very big audience is being exposed to truths that are generally censored by the mainstream media. And I am encouraged by the pressure it puts on left politicians to be more vocal about this so that he doesn't dominate the sort of moral high ground in this area, right? But those are very different statements than I sort of broadly align with Tucker Carlson. Like, why would you even frame it that way? Do I agree with Tucker? Well, what are we talking about? Is he saying the sky is blue? Because that's true. That the earth is round? That's true. That America was found. There's basic truth that he can say, but there's like almost an intent to have a maximalist framing that forces you to focus on what you disagree about in a way also that I think diminishes the credibility of the left in the eyes of his audience if we are if we're seen as sort of being bad faith and not having any kind of acknowledgement or grace about the ways that he has changed and apologized. Even if we think that some of it might be insincere or sort of following the wind, we can't prove that aspect of it. And his audience is not especially interested in that aspect of it. And if we want his audience, we got to seem like we're being fair as we engage with these ideas, is my view.
So the point that I want to add here is that people need to keep in mind, again, that independents are the ones that are winning and determining these presidential elections over the past, 10, 12 years at this point in time. So it is whoever captures the independents, that's who's going to win. The number of independents in this country continues to increase, not decrease. I say that because I feel like I'm getting very concerned. I'm starting to see the same type of energy and behavior that I saw around Trump in 2016, like this MAGA like cult mentality. I'm starting to see that same type of energy happen on the left, but this time with DSA. I'm starting to see that same type of nastiness, bitterness. If you don't back this one person that we want, da 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 da. And I don't think that is going to help that person win. I don't. And I don't know any leftists that said that they would vote for Tucker Carlson if he were to run. I don't know anyone I don't know anyone that said that. But Bree apparently has. Now, I would be curious to know if Bree has heard this from people that she knows personally, they've told her face to face, via text, phone, whatever, or if that's what she's seeing in her chat, if that's what she's seeing in her comments. And the reason why I asked that question is because if it's because of what she's seen in the comments, we don't necessarily know for sure that those accounts are leftist accounts, right? some of that could be trolling. But if it's people that she knows personally that have said that, I'd be curious to know who and why they feel that way. Because what it is showing you is that the bar is so low now, that the bar is like, when the people who are on the progressive left don't speak and take the positions that the progressive left is supposed to on an Israel issue like Israel, for example, it allows someone like Tucker Carlson to have a mild critique and it be seen even more aggressive because he's on the other side and the majority in his party do support Israel. Does that make sense? And I've been warning about this for a long time, that no, it's not okay to even support the Iron Dome. It's not okay to support defensive weapons for a genocider. It's not okay to support that. And I sat there and I watched AOC argue back and forth with people on X about why she felt that was okay, instead of just taking the L and saying, I screwed up, you're right. And I'm telling you right now, I do know leftists that have told me to my face that if she doesn't correct her position on defensive weapons to Israel and she runs for president in 2028, they will not vote for her. People are tired. People have had enough. And a lot of people are just like, everybody says the turnout is going to be enormous come 2028. I'm not sure that it will be. Because the turnout in 2024, which people thought was going to be so great because Trump was winning, it didn't turn out that way. At least not for the Democratic Party. Everyone who came out to vote for Joe Biden in 2020 did not show up to vote for Kamala in 2024. I'm not certain. I think that people are frustrated. I think that people are tired. And I think a lot of people, especially a lot of younger voters, they feel like they're not being heard. So I'm not sure that it will be. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Let's finish this part here.
I mean, send me the DocuSign. I'll sign it. I agree with everything you said. It's just, yeah, it's insane.
Are you aligned with me, do you?
I'm very aligned. I mean, I think my problem in general, this is true, and I encounter this in business. I encounter it in political conversations in just every phase of life. And I said it earlier. People want to generalize all day. The world is a complicated place, and everyone just has so much attention, and they want simplicity so they can make up their minds. But unfortunately, there are complex topics that require detail, this being one of them. I will tell you, I think I shared or liked or something a post of Tucker Carlson's on Palestine, and an African American friend of mine was very mad at me. Like, how can you share that? Like, what were you thinking? And I explained to her exactly what you said. I was like, listen, I mean, I don't agree with everything the guy. I happen to agree with this 30-second segment that he talked about Palestine. Like, I'm not giving a broad endorsement of everything he has ever said or done.
Yeah, and that's the way it's being taken. And I want to show you there's now a smear piece that has been written about her. And this guy is, oh God, he's one of the ones that's been heavily attacking her. This is by Joe Roat. This guy is insufferable online. Look at this. So, by the way, he's saying that Briahna Joy Gray is CIA linked now. See how far? This is what I was telling you. DSA Joe Roat. He said, why are CIA linked leftist podcasters pushing Marjorie Taylor Greene over AOC? I'm just going to go right to the part where he talks about Brie. Because it's wild. I can't believe he actually took the time to write all this shit. Red brown alliances don't work. I've been telling you guys, like, it's becoming more like a cult. Here we go. Briahna Joy Gray weirdly tried to sanitize Trump's anti-Mexican racism by claiming it was obvious the media lost credibility by saying his 2016 Mexico isn't sending their best speech was racist, yada, yada. Let's go to this part here. He talks about the video that she just had with Sana Seed, where she talks about knowing people that would support Tucker Carlson, people on the left that would. Listen to this. Briahna Joy Gray has a financial incentive to delegitimize existing effective anti-war movements. What effective anti-war movement? The one that said vote for a genocidal party? She is a spokesperson for the Green Party, which relentlessly attacks more effective left-wing parties to build party support and funnel donations to the Greens' already wealthy internet celebrities. So apparently now the Green Party has all this money, apparently, according to Joe Rote. Rather than just run for something, the Green Party 2024 presidential ticket explicitly ran against AOC. Run for something. Didn't Jill Stein run against genocide? Didn't she run an anti-war campaign? Didn't she have a whole comprehensive platform for domestic economic issues in this country? Didn't she have reparations on her platform, which Kamala Harris didn't have that on her platform? Now all of a sudden he's saying there was nothing there. You see what I mean about the cult-like personality? He goes on to say, as the FEC disclosures show, the Jill Stein campaign was paying Joy Gray, Vice President candidate Butch Ware, and Peter Dow, a multimillionaire former Hillary Clinton strategist who received thousands of dollars. So he's saying that Jill Stein's campaign was paying, oh, I shouldn't have done that, sorry, was paying Briahna Joy Gray. So he shows the screenshot here. I mean, Butch Ware was her running mate. But he shows the screenshot here. And at the top, it says Jill Stein for President 2024, Briahna Joy Gray, social media consultant, $2,500,000. I tried to make this bigger for you guys so you could see it, but I don't think it's going to let. Oh, maybe it did. Did it do it? I'm sorry, guys. Oh, there we go. $2,500. So if I don't know what her relationship was with the Green Party as if she was hired or not, but let's say she was a contractor or whatever. Yes, those people get paid. When someone is a campaign manager for a election, they are paid. When Briahna Joy Gray was Bernie Sanders' press secretary, she was paid for that. You're not working for free. And this guy is talking about $2,500, but you literally had like Kamala getting billions, like all billions of dollars and still lost. Billions of dollars from the military industrial complex, from AIPAC, etc. But he's mad that Briahna Joy Gray got $2,500, allegedly. This part here, Gray also has existing financial connections with Zionists, reactionary capitalists linked to the CIA. In 2021, the current Trump crypto czar and CIA contractor David Sacks announced that Gray would receive funding from his Get Callin podcast network. Get Callin was quickly acquired by Peter Thiel, the co-founder of Palantir Technologies. Sacks is also a Palantir investor. Thiel is the current conservative kingmaker dealing out billions to politicians and media figures behind the scenes. Okay, so I know about Callin. Let me jump in here. There was an app. It was called Callin. It didn't last long. David Sacks got rid of it, but it was basically the same way I do Callin after this show, but we use Zoom. Back then, you could just have the Callin app and you guys could just come into the app and we'd have Callin discussion. Some of the people that were on there were offered a contract. So they were getting paid for hosting so many call-in shows or whatever, right? From what I understand, it's not like the money was all that, okay? And at that point in time, like, it was supposed to evolve into something else. Call-in was supposed to evolve into a place where you could also have the video aspect as well. And then, like, out of nowhere, David Sacks decided just to get rid of it. Like, he didn't want to deal with it anymore. And apparently Rumble was supposed to acquire Call-in, but I guess that kind of fell through, you know, in the weeds as well. So the point is, he's being disingenuous in this article because he's not telling you that a number of podcasters were on call-in. A number of left podcasters were on call-in that also had contracts. Why is Joe Roat not calling out all the other left podcast hosts that also had contracts on call-in, but he's only mentioning her? This is why I say, if AOC runs for president in 2028 and she loses, it is not going to be because of Briahna Joy Gray. It is going to be because of people like Joe Roat. You don't have to like Bri. You don't have to agree with what she says. At the same time, when you go out of your way to embellish or to exaggerate or to not, mention others who were a part of this as well and also had a contract, it shows that you're reaching. So he's now trying to say that she's connected to the CIA. That's a reach. And what people like Joe don't understand is you ain't need to do all of that. Honestly, you really didn't say anything. A lot of times when I'm on X, I don't know about everybody else, but a lot of times when I'm on X, there's many people I disagree with. I usually don't say shit to these people unless it's a politician or it's someone in a position of power. I don't like this whole argue back and forth with podcast or stuff. I let go of that a long time ago. I don't have time for it. So the same people who are trying to make you believe that Briahna Joy Gray would vote for Tucker Carlson, which is not what she said, are the same people trying to tell you that apparently she was the only leftist that was on this podcast, on this call-in app owned by David Sachs and was getting paid. Apparently she was the only one, according to Joe Roat. And now she's apparently connected to the CIA, allegedly. Let me tell you something else here, okay? When people decide that they can't get anything else from you, they will dispose of you. They loved Briahna Joy Gray when she was Bernie Sanders' press secretary, when she was out there campaigning for Bernie. But the moment that she said that she would not vote for Biden, some people started to turn on her then. Now, you're supposed to be to the left of Biden. DSA is supposed to be to the left of Biden, but they were yelling at her for not wanting to vote for a right-wing candidate who didn't offer anything for the working class. The moment that she said that she was going to vote for the Green Party, which she had done before, this was not a new thing, they lost their shit. And this is why I tell you, it's not about being pro-woman. It's not about being pro-black. It's not about being pro-LGBTQ. It's about being pro-Democrat. You just saw what happened with Thomas Massie. It was about Thomas Massie not being pro-Trump, not doing what Trump didn't want him to do. The moment that they decide they don't need you anymore, this is how they treat you. The moment that they decide, oh, whoa, she doesn't want to go with the program anymore. She's thinking for herself. She's not getting in line. What do we do about that? The moment that that happens, they will come after you the same way they came after people on the right. I've seen it in real time. They use you at their disposal, and now they don't need you anymore. They'll probably go try to find another black person, another black woman to be that spot that Bri was. DSA got their own fucking problems. Don't even come with me. You guys can't even get black members, okay? They can go after Tucker all they want to. I don't care. I never even met Tucker Carlson. And they haven't either. But they can say what they want to say about him, but what some people will look and see is they'll feel as though at least Tucker is being a little bit more authentic. Meanwhile, you guys can't even get black members, but you want to talk about somebody else. There's anti-blackness on both sides. Some is just more obvious than others. But the moment that they can no longer use you for their benefit, this is how they treat you. So whether you agree with it or not, my whole big thing is that's not what she said. And people are taking it that way. And that's what pissed me off. The other thing I'm going to say about this, I think the reason they treating her this way is because they feel as though because she is Black, she needs to get in line. I will spend my time, and I told you guys before, I will spend my time convincing Black people to register as independents. I'm so tired of this shit. I really am. Don't come to me telling me I better do anything. Don't come to me telling me I better do anything for a party that Black voters have been very loyal to and has not given us anything in return. Don't take me back to Medicare. Don't take me back to Social Security. Don't take me back. I wasn't alive for that shit. I was not alive when those things were brought into practice. Since I've been around, y'all ain't done shit. Everybody has the right to think independently, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Anyone. Do not let them pigeonhole you, man. Don't let them do that to you. Fuck that. Let's get that poll. I just want to see if you guys have heard these things. All right. Let's get to the polls here. Briahna Joy Gray said she knows leftists who will vote for Tucker. What are your thoughts? I don't know leftists that would is 32%. I also know leftists that would is 40%. Interesting. Who are these people that you guys know of? We'll have to talk about this on Call-In tonight. 16% said, I think those people are trolling, and 12% said, I don't believe this. Okay. We'll have to talk about this on Call-In tonight. I'm curious because nobody has said this to me. Quick question for you guys. Pop quiz. This is a little fun part. This is a little test for you guys. This is a question of the week. I'm going to show you this. You know this guy? Who is this guy? In the Michael Jackson Bad video. So this is my second favorite dancer in the Michael Jackson Bad video. He's the guy that he has on these red roller skates and he does a split in the roller skates and then he pulls himself up by his jacket. Who is the dancer? I never found out. I don't know. If you know, let me know. Does anybody know who the roller skate dude was in the Michael Jackson Bad video? I'm not joking. I really don't know who he is, but I want to know. Where is he? Is he still alive today? Let me know. Let me know. Curious. Maybe Roger Meadow knows. Roger always knows like a lot of this music stuff. Did somebody say Usher? It's not Usher. Oh, man. Let me get out of. Wait, do people know? Oh, wait a minute. Sir Knight said Roger Green. I think I saw another Roger Green. Emily said Roger Green. That's two Roger Greens. I think his name is Roger Green. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up. No, that's not the Boogaloo guy. I thought it, yeah, he kind of looks like the Boogaloo guy, Electric Boogaloo, but that's not the same. Okay, I'm going to look up Roger Green. The full cast and crew. Oh, okay, I'll check it there. I didn't know. Thanks, Fire. All right, guys. Eric's going to come in. He'll finish up the super chats, and then I'll come back and we'll do call-in.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up. We can talk about it on call-in, on the old call-in. All right, before you go, I got one for you. If you let's say if you had to vote and the ballot was only AOC versus Tucker Carlson, who are you going to vote for?
I'd write someone in.
Oh, yeah, everybody wants to cop out. Let's say you had to.
I mean, I'm also, keep in mind, I'm in Massachusetts.
This is the hypothetical. It's not about where you are, but it's an interesting choice. I think a lot of people would go for Tucker just because of that whole authenticity factor. In that,
Let's talk about this on call-in tonight.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about it on call-in.
We'll hash it out on call-in. All right. We'll give you. Right, you can think about it during the break.
Okay. All right, guys, I'll be back.
All right, so this is that's the big question out there. You can put it in the chat if you go for one or the other. Like let's say one of these gun to your head type of hypotheticals where you have to pick. Why am I wearing Larry Johnson's Hawaiian shirt? I don't know. Is it Hawaiian? That's what I get for looking at the chat. Like if you had to pick, right, which would you go for? And I mean, I think like in one of those, well, I would have to go for Tucker. It's just because, there's lots of terrible things about Tucker, but at least he's not. At least it would be different. At least he might do something about Gaza and some of these things. But of course, the real answer to this is not. Is neither of them, right? Neither of the above, and I know people just want to go for that answer, and so we have to think about how do we get to that then, right? Where we have candidates that we do feel good about voting for, and what this gets into is what we're doing with 11 demands, in that it's the idea of having a politics that's not based on personalities, it's not based on all the nonsense and drama that we get now, but it is based on clear demands, right? And that's anti-corruption. And I should say before I go much further here, this is a little break part of the show. We give Sabrina a break before we will be transitioning to the Zoom Hangout call-in part of the show. Sabrina's actually creating the call-in room now, and we'll be giving you that link as soon as the room's created and we have it. Somebody in chat said Roger Green is the guy. All right, and then we'll work on transitioning over to the Zoom Hangout, which is a good time. We get to hear what you think. You can give us more of your direct feedback. You can get in the speaker queue and tell us a little bit what you think. Hopefully, keeping it on point. In these videos, it kind of reminds me of. With music and what you hear happens in studios when songs are recorded and they bring in studio musicians, and these guys can be like really good musicians. And the same thing with these music videos. They would have brought in these dancers who would have been pretty, obviously were first rate amazing that we saw. In terms of Thomas Massie, back to the subjects at hand, I think what I would say Massie should have done was first leave the Uniparty, right? Don't be a part of either of these parties. And I think Massie kind of got burnied in that the party decides that you're too far. It's not even left or right. You're not supporting the billionaires and their projects hard enough, so you get bounced. Bernie got bounced. Massie got bounced. Step one to being a candidate that we really feel good about voting for is leave the Uniparty. Step two, is have those clear demands, and be calling out the corruption. If Massie would have really run a campaign that really called out corruption and really focused on it, called out the corruption of the billionaires, which I don't think he's really into, called out just the corruption of party leadership. He would have had to call out Mike Johnson and the leadership of the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party. And, it's unfortunately kind of telling that he was not willing to do that. Maybe he'll continue to evolve and be willing now. He could try to run as an independent now. He could be kind of a cause celeb, as they say, kind of someone for people to rally around. We'll see. We really need, like I said, a politics based on demands, not on personalities, not on these politicians and this cult-like thing. And towards that, I'll just bring up quickly here the old 11demands.org, which is easy to find. We talk about that in there and how we need to be using MCDS as a tool. It's that framework for seeing how things really work. We need to have the clear demands. It needs to be more of a movement based on those clear demands with a strong focus on corruption. If Thomas Massie or any other candidate was running more in that fashion, I think there could be the potential for a groundswell that would overwhelm the party shenanigans, that would overwhelm potentially the billionaire money. It's not an easy task to do. I think it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of people So that's what the old 11 Demands is all about. If that looks interesting to you, check it out. Check out the Substack. I think the 11 Demands Substack is just about to hit 300 subscribers. So I would appreciate people checking that out and subscribing to it. It basically just means you'll get occasional posts, articles in your inbox from the Substack, and they're pretty short. So that's maybe one of the biggest things I encourage people to, if you want to be involved, stay involved, and hear about what's happening with 11 Demands, is to subscribe to that Substack. You just need an email to be getting into that. All right, let me check out some of these super chats. We got a few in the queue, and let's take a peek at what that looks like. Let me get on the right screen here. Here we go. Here we are. That. Thanks for this super chat from the fake Blake, who says, Blake is important because he was attacked by Candace after he revealed that she secretly covered up evidence about what really happened to Charlie. All right, more of that stuff. And fake Blake says Tucker Carlson is a disingenuous psyop. And again, this is why we need to be clear about what our demands are. We need to be a movement and a collection of people who have clear demands, to where we say, this is where we're at, these are our demands. If you're a politician who wants to get elected, then you come to us and tell us about how you're going to fulfill those demands. I like this one too, from Skylar, who said, Skylar the writer, who says, Democrats can't cede the moral high ground on issues like genocide, Israel, etc., and then be mad when someone else takes it. There you go. And these things aren't accidents. These things aren't mistakes. These things aren't because they're dumb or they don't know what they're doing. These things, it's about interest. This is also a big one with 11 Demands. And there are two sets of interests. There's the billionaire mega corporation interests, and there's the interests of the 99%. And things really, come down to that. And we should be, trying to always kind of bring it back to interests when we are talking about things, and that will bring some clarity. We can talk about it in call-in.
All right. We did the super chat.
If you want to pick up the last two, and I'll show the one from Rumble.
Thank you, Marlon. Imagine 60% of America registering as independent. That's what we want.
That would be cool.
And thank you, Unemployed Scholar. Voting Rights Act gutted because Black people demanding reparations.
Let's see.
I don't think that's why it got gutted, but we can get into that.
It's an interesting framing. All right, this was just someone on the Rumble. Thanks, Alex QX, for the Rumble rant and the peace sticker. We like peace. Demand it. All right, place here. Oop, I guess I should put you up. There we go.
All right, guys, we're going to go into call in at this point in time. You have an echo, Eric.
Okay.
We're going to go to call in at this point in time, ladies and gents. That link is pinned at the bottom of the chat. So I'm just going to go ahead and open the call-in room while I am on the stream here. And the way this works, you click on the link, you're in the room, the Zoom room. If you want to speak, do me a solid. You go towards the bottom of the screen, click on raise your hand. That lets me know that you want to talk, you got something to say, and that lets me know to call on you. And that is it for us tonight, ladies and gents. And I will see you Thursday evening here, 8 p.m. sharp. All right. Okay. All right. We are ready. Oh, Eric, once you get in, I'll go ahead and make you a co-host. Yeah, you're muted, so I can't hear you.
Because you said I was echoing. No, it's asking me for the passcode, which I'll get in. All right, I'll see you all in the call-in.
Okay. And then if you come in a little bit later, it's also easier to get that link if you just go to Sabby Sabs. Oh, where did it go? SabbySabs2.com. If you just go to that site, you'll also be able to get that link and you'll be in the call-in room as well. I still don't see Eric. I don't see you in here. So I'm just waiting for you to join the room. so I can go ahead and make you a co-host.
Yeah, I'm just getting the passcode entered. All right, we got 139005. See if it likes that. Now I'm cooking.
Yeah, that passcode
arrived.
is also on that link too, guys. If you go to sabbysabs2.com, you also get the passcode there. Okay, I see you now. All right, let me go ahead and make you a co-host.
See you in there.
All right. Yay. Okay, guys, that is it for me tonight. Have a good night and keep up the fight.